Hi, it's Ali.
Hi everyone, it's Ozla. Welcome back to the podcast. Today we have my dear friend Ali from Turkey. We're gonna start with who Ali is, how we met, and what we have been doing together. How are you, Ali?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm good. I just had a meeting with a cousin that I haven't seen for a decade, but I'll process that later. Let's get back to you. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. So, my name is Ali. I am originally from Azerbaijan, but I've been living in Turkey for 13 years now. And I am activist, HIV activist, migration activist, and queer activist. And I'm also doing research on queer mobility and people living with HIV. Also, I'm co-founder of Positive Solidarity, which is the network organization for people living with HIV, established by people living with HIV for people living with HIV.
Amazing. I have a question that I
Yeah,
actually don't have the answer to. Do you remember how we met?
that's a great question. No, I don't know. I believe it was through Positive Solidarity. I believe so, but I don't remember at all.
Here's what I remember. I left Turkey, moved to Germany, and then I had to go back to Turkey. And when I went back to Turkey, there were a couple of new HIV initiatives and organizations, and one of them was Positive Solidarity. And I literally remember going like, "Who are these bitches? Let me send them a message." But personally, you and I don't remember where we met the first time. Do you remember the first time you saw me?
No, but I remember the story that you emailed us and you want to introduce yourself. And then I didn't have a time and I didn't attend in that meeting with the Positive Solidarity and you. And I get the info from my friends like, he's so cute, he's one of us, he's like us. And I was like, what's like us? I don't know, but it sounds something fun. But yeah, as you said, I don't remember how and when we did meet. I feel like because of digitalization, all the social media and this thing, I feel like we have always known each other. But
Yeah.
the exact moment, like the first date or first meeting, I don't remember anything about
Yeah,
it.
and I think there's a special thing regarding our connection between you and me that is different from the rest of the people in Positive Solidarity. We are both migrants.
Yes.
And I think that gives us another level of emotional connection, or we can relate to each other because we do sometimes go through a possible deportation risk at the same times.
And always when I'm telling the story that I'm having a challenge with, you're gonna understand what I'm telling. That you always understand, and I always understand what you're going through. Yes, that's the
Exactly.
case that are bonding us, the
Yeah, yeah.
migrants.
And you also work in migration, right? What does your current work look like?
Yeah, I'm doing my master right now on cultural studies, and my thesis is about queer migrants living with HIV and AIDS in Turkey. So it's also like part of autoethnography research. I'm also putting my own experiences, but it's broader than that. It's about all the migrants and refugees living in Turkey because in Turkey, for migrants and refugees, there is no proper treatment access, and most of the people left behind or abandoned to die. So I'm just trying to emphasize on that sphere and to show what people are living in Turkey and especially queer refugees, but I also work in other projects about Syrian refugees and their return perspective. Also, another project about queer refugees and their healthcare experiences in Turkey. So it's a lot of different projects
Yeah.
that I'm sitting in the middle of this research.
Yeah, although I am from Turkey, I don't feel like I talk enough about HIV epidemic and the statistics and current situations in Turkey. So if you were to explain how things are going in a couple of minutes to someone that has never been or worked in Turkey, what would be your highlights?
Well, statistically speaking, we don't know, to be honest. That's why probably you're not able to talk because we don't have exact or close to exact data to show what's going on in the country. And in general, what's going on in Turkey, I think we should divide into like who are citizens, who are not citizens, because it really differs for each groups. If you're a citizen, you just have a medical access. Beside that, you don't have any support, social support, mental support, psychosocial support in all over this world, and there's a high stigma.
And that's
Uh,
already an important point, right? That means only citizens have universal, I'm doing air quotation marks, universal health care and have access to sexual health and HIV care as well. But while migrants are not included in that.
They
policies?
are not just not included; they are actively excluded. Also, that's like a really important point to emphasize because it's not just they have not considered about that; they have considered the migrants and refugees, and they are excluded from the healthcare access. And what they're expecting from people to do, I'm not sure. For me, it's just like they don't want to have people living with HIV in Turkey, especially queer and migrants, because they don't want to use their money, their budgets, or their moral concerns that are emerging here, that they want to send everyone back to their country, even it's not safe places that they can go back to.
Yeah, and I think, as you were saying, one of the major issues is that the statistics are not reliable and they are not consistent. Like, numbers do not add up. And I don't know how much shade you want in this podcast, but maybe a little bit of shade. That a couple of months ago, Positive Solidarity tried to highlight these inconsistencies in HIV statistics and reporting, and we just literally took screenshots and published them on social media. That apparently upset the Ministry of Health and several other HIV NGOs who tried to attack us and force us to pull data down. So the funny thing in Turkey is you are accepted as an activist if you pretend like everything is going well. And your career in Turkey as an activist or an advocate will skyrocket if you just pretend everything is perfect and we're doing the best we can. But the moment I feel like you say, these are great, yes, but these points, these are not going well, that is never taken in a constructive way.
I totally agree. I totally agree. As a person who is living with HIV, it's hard to find support because all the organizations they are trying to work for the people not living with HIV or they have potentiality to live with HIV in the future, but we don't know about that. In the meanwhile, they're also trying to be close to the Ministry of Health or other donors or funding resources. They are forgetting to talk about the political things. And when someone talking about the political stuff, then they are trying to eliminate or trying to disqualify their activism or whatever they are saying. And that's what we are facing. Even the statistic things, the organization has texted or emailed us, we should put that post down or we should delete it. Why? And I was super happy that the Minister of Health has seen that the post that we are sharing and they're
They,
aware we are knowing something. It was super good news for me that they are seeing
yeah.
what we are sharing.
I was
Uh,
thinking, look at our reach. We can upset people in the
exactly.
ministry.
I mean, of course, we our aim is to reach the people who is living with HIV, but we also supporting their life in not just personal life but also political life. This means that we are always doing our activism in a way that we are demanding the rights and we are doing the advocacy. It seems our advocacy in somehow reach the places that we want to reach.
Yeah, it's
So
good for us.
yeah.
And I think this would actually be a good point to maybe talk about what we have recently done trying to reach out to people living with HIV. As OurCARE is a new organization, I've been on a hunt or a journey to fundraise for OurCARE. And one of the first ones I have actually gotten hold of, or I should probably say we have gotten hold of, was a fund from European AIDS Treatment Group, which coincidentally is the NGO that I entered the field through. I entered their year-long training program called Step Up, and that's how I joined Activism. And they had a small grant for HIV networks, NGOs to translate certain documents. And we did that. Would you like to talk about that?
Yes, I love that project. I love that translation. I like that booklet. What are we gonna call it? I'm not sure, but yeah, in Turkey, doctors and healthcare providers are the only people on power that are eligible to talk about the things. So has always been like that. Even though you're making a workshop, it always starts with the doctors and their presentations, and it's tiring to see the doctors always talking about the HIV and the things, and not from the perspective that I would like to hear about HIV and living with HIV. And that research that we translated actually give that opportunity to us that we, who are the people living with HIV, translate biomedical information in the language that our community can understand because we are from community, we are working with the community, we understand the community. This project was really important for me because we translated Can you tell what was the
Yes.
original?
There is an HIV organization based in the UK called iBase. It's literally information base for HIV. And what they do is they do treatment activism, right? So they try to break down HIV science for people living with HIV specifically, and also people affected by HIV. And they had this document called Art in Pictures. Art is a short term for antiretroviral treatment, HIV treatment. So the document tries to simplify how HIV treatment works and what you should be careful about when you're on HIV treatment. And it doesn't just say take your pill every day and then continue living, but it specifically dives into what happens in your body, what does the virus do once it's in your body, and what does the treatment do, and how is treatment actually metabolized in your body. So we took that document, we translated, we used cute pictures and tried to make it as understandable and as accessible for our communities as we could, right?
Yes, and also like understanding the needs from coming from the community. In Turkey, I think people living with HIV are super obsessed with the medical knowledge. I'm part of the many Telegram groups or WhatsApp groups, and I always see people are trying to find the reliable medical information that they are not able to ask their doctor because they are not able to see their doctors in their regular checkups or other issues they have encountered, so they don't want to ask their doctor. So people are trying to find the information from the social capital or network they have developed through the social media or the Telegram groups.
Yeah.
And this showed how this information was needed from the community. And after we translate a booklet in this group, I received so many good comments, but also from my friends, from all the people who is working in how do we call it, like the test centers.
Sector, oh, test
Yeah,
centers, yeah.
in sector as well. Like I've already received so many good.
That's good. That makes me so
Yeah,
happy.
me too. I'm super happy to do that, and thank you bringing it to Positive Solidarity, and thank you for inviting me to be part of this project. I'm really
Yes.
happy.
Of course. And talking about doctors, I just remembered like I had a flashback while you were talking about it. Yes, HIV is a medical field, but health as a phenomena is determined by our social surroundings. So it's not only a
Mhm.
biomedical issue, and HIV specifically has been so stigmatized because of the communities affected by it. It is more of a social issue than a medical issue. Yes, we need to have doctors there because they are seen as the guards in aprons, especially in countries like Turkey, and they have a lot of authority in every room they walk in, basically. And that sometimes leads to people living with HIV or communities in general being silenced. And I remember years ago, I was organizing a meeting in a municipality building on sexual health, and we wanted to train some people. And I remember I'm on stage doing a workshop or giving a speech, whatever, and a doctor interrupted me. And the discussion, the confrontation was so unprofessional and humiliating for both sides. But at the end, I was confronted with this question: what diploma do you have? What authority do you have to talk about this? And I hated it so much. And with that anger, I went and did a health science master's degree in Switzerland. And literally, as I was doing it, I was telling people, I need this to shut people up. So next time I'm confronted, I can be like, I actually have a health science and health services researcher's degree, and I was specifically trained to work on documents like this, just so people would stop questioning my qualifications. And that's also what I utilized while translating this document, because we did get very scientific and medical at certain points. How did you feel about those points?
Well, apparently not for everyone. That was not correct. We have received some critics, some organizations, and I believe, as I mentioned earlier, it's because we are political, not because like some translation mistakes or errors. It's just because we are putting it in a political way. Even though you have studied public health, still you're not medical doctors. You don't have a right to say something about HIV because they are neglecting that there is a social determinant of health. They are just trying to put that it's a medical condition. You have to say what we are saying. Our political approach in the translation can offend some people. That's fine. What we can do.
And you know what? You know what was kind of interesting for me while translating this document? Because this document came from the UK, right? So it was written to address the questions and the needs of communities in the UK. And I don't remember the numbers, I should have checked, but original documents were 20 to 25 pages. Ours ended up being like 30 to 35 because I think the reason behind that was, first, we had a lot to say. Second, health literacy is much lower in Turkey than it is in the UK, which is why we couldn't just mention certain terms, but we had to like break them down into more simple concepts so people could actually understand what it means. And I think that also was an interesting experience for me as a health scientist, to be aware that health literacy of group of people are different, not only between countries, but even within the same country. It could be very, very different from each other. And we wanted to have a document that could be read by anyone that was recently diagnosed. And then when they go through the document, it not only releases some of the worries and anxieties they have, but it should answer many of the questions they may have then or in the future. One feedback, yes, people love it. One feedback I have received was how scientific and medical certain parts of the documents are. So I have a question for you. How important do you think for people living with HIV to have an increased or higher health literacy or know how exactly the treatment works in their body? Is it important? Is it not important? What do you think?
Well, speaking personally, I don't think it is very important for myself
Yeah.
because whenever I encounter medical questions, I always come to you. What does it mean, Oz? Just explain to me because I don't know and I don't want to research on about it because there's a lot of info when I'm looking for something and then I have to learn a lot of things at the same time. I don't have time for that. I don't want that. And by the way, our new booklet facilitate or make it easy to find information. That's another part. But in overall, for people with HIV, this kind of deep medical information is needed or not. I think it depends on the person or community. In Turkey, I see it's very important that people are obsessed with this kind of information and they're looking for, and they have to be a safe, reliable, accessible, easy
Yeah.
information that they can access to. But personally, I don't really care. Of course, I want to understand how the medication works, but there's a lot of information while we're translating. I was keep asking you again, and that much information, I'm not sure if I really need them in my daily
Yeah.
life. And I'm because also coming from the social sciences, I'm like, okay, girl, that's
Sure.
fine.
No, I guess you were going to give this answer because I think I also agree with you. It is not really important for everyone, but it is a type of information that becomes really important when you need it. And when you cannot access it, then it causes so much anxiety and fear. And you were talking about the healthcare delivery in Turkey a little bit. When I was accessing care in Turkey, that's also where I was diagnosed. Every time I went to a doctor, I saw a different doctor. Every clinic visit was with someone else. And I started thinking, how am I supposed to build trust with whoever is providing me treatment if I cannot build that trust with my healthcare provider, and if the care is provided by someone else every visit? It also makes it less likely for me to be able to ask certain questions in trust.
Exactly.
And I think that's why in contexts like Turkey, access to medical information, not just treatment, but also what does treatment do, how does it work, becomes even more important, because if you don't access it, then you're in the limbo and it just causes panic.
That's true. That's true. Same thing I was trying to say in this Telegram group chat. And now they can because there's a easy resource that they can go and check because
Exactly.
it's digital, it's printed. There's also easy way access through the QR
Yeah.
code and also the testing centers, all the social media accounts. I think it's easier to now when I diagnosed with HIV, and I was not super interested in this medical information, but even though when I have gone through this process to understand what's going on, like what's CD4, what's CD8, and when I asked my doctors, it was like, you don't need to worry about this kind of things. Just care about the CD4. CD8 is doesn't important for you. And I was like, okay, that's
Yeah.
all. But it's
Yeah, like
not. It's
that
not
that I will
all.
never understand. If I want to access information about something that is happening in my body, why don't you let me have that information?
But you don't need to know, you're just a patient. You don't have a right to know anything in here that they see you like that.
Yeah, but you touch upon distribution. I think that's an important point as well, because as of now, we have managed to send it to 15 anonymous testing clinics under universities or municipalities in 9 different cities in Turkey. When I was doing it, I didn't realize it was gonna reach to these spaces. But you know, the connections that we have built over the years, I think, came into play when we were distributing documents. And as you said, we tried to be as sensitive as possible because we ended up with 30 plus pages. And as a booklet, it's not easy to hide. And if you are in Turkey living with HIV, you're most likely not going to want that document lying around accessible to people in your life if you're not open about your status. So we sent the
Yeah,
booklet to the clinics, but we have also printed cutesy QR codes that would just take people to the online document, so they would not have to carry the booklet around, but they could just take a sticker with them, and whenever they want to check something up, they can just scan the QR code and then access it.
as you mentioned, like people are hesitated to carry the book. It can
Yeah.
expose them, so it's always a good
Yeah.
idea to have like digital versions.
We were able to get the document to clinics through a Turkish family planning organization, which does amazing things, some of them a bit problematically, but still appreciating the good things and hoping some things could improve in the future. And that's why I collaborated with them a couple of years ago to help improve some of the things that I thought could be improved. And back then, I was just finishing my master's degree, and they wanted to put together a document to take to municipalities explaining how should an anonymous testing clinic look
Mhm.
like and how should it function and what are the legal procedures in Turkey for municipalities to run with the Ministry of Health so they could open these clinics. If I remember correctly, when we were doing this project, there were about 7 anonymous HIV testing clinics under municipalities in mostly big Western cities in the country. They took that document to many municipalities and universities, and I think, if I'm not wrong, there are now over 21 anonymous testing clinics around Turkey, and we managed to get our document into 15 of them. I'm like, yes, things are connecting, things are building up
And
on each other.
yeah, yeah, and I'm really super happy that there's increasing number of anonymous testing centers because it's huge. And when
Yeah.
you were writing the reports about this anonymous test center, we're trying to push the Minister of Health to support to open the new places. And now we have, as you said, 21, and we are super connected with them. And we are receiving their feedbacks about our booklet, and they are super happy that we are seeing them and supporting them also. It's not just like sending our booklet to them, they're also happy to see that we are acknowledging, we are seeing, we are understanding their work, and we are also supporting them. That's how they also see the process. And that's super happy. That makes me super happy to see that we are how we connected and happy with
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah, absolutely. As we are starting to slowly wrap up, first
Yeah.
question: is there anything that you wanted to touch upon in this podcast that you didn't? We didn't so far? If you were to bring one thing up, what would that be?
Um. Well, nothing maybe, but
Who won the
no.
Hormonlu Domates Awards this year? Maybe we can
I
go there a little bit.
I forgot the name, but it's like a journalist or YouTuber. Okay, maybe we can start with hormonal dermatitis. Would you like
Yeah,
to? Yeah.
sure. So although prides have been banned since 2014 and 15, around that time in Turkey, we are still doing it, right? In a more political way. And one of the things as Positive Solidarity that we do for Istanbul Prides is an award. We call it Hormonlu Domates, which could be translated as tomato with hormones injected in it. You know, it's not natural, it's played around with, and therefore it's not the best ideal, and we don't like it. So we call the award Hormonlu Domates, tomatoes with hormones, and then we basically nominate bunch of people, whoever they are in the country, that have done HIV phobic things that year. And then it goes out to the Pride Committee of Istanbul, and every year there is a voting. And then the queer community in Turkey basically votes on who was the HIV phobic bitch that year.
And it's always hard to choose because there's a lot of people
Because they're
who
equally awful things. Because we give names or names of institutions or people, and then we break down what happened. And I think last year I stopped voting because I was like, I cannot choose. They're all equally horrible things. I don't know which one I should vote for. Like, they're all really, really bad.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Same thing happens to me. Like I don't know who to choose because we should at least give two or three awards to different HIV phobic people, but we have to choose one.
To
Yeah,
know
but it's
about
really
him.
nice to do these award things in Turkey because like this hormone injected, tomato injected hormone things is like, I don't know, it's
Hormone injected
21st
tomato,
century.
not tomato injected hormone.
Yeah, whatever. It's hard to translate in English, but
Yeah, 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 I
it's
know.
been like almost like a 15 or 20 years now that going on within the queer community, that each year queer community is selecting one of the most homophobic, transphobic candidates and award them. And since I
All
think
right.
2020, Positive Solidarity has joined to this to choose the HIV phobic, and I love it. It's really nice and it's engaging and interesting activity
Actually,
that.
what I love about activism in Turkey, we suffer, yes, but we also but but we are so used to our suffering sometimes. We learn to make fun of it, right? We suffer,
Yeah,
but we make fun of our suffering and we give people awards for making us suffer more, basically. Like, you did so well this year. You were so homophobic. You were so HIV phobic. We felt the need to give you this award. Thank you for
that's
your
why I love
services.
activism here.
Madilik abla yani. That's sometimes what you need. And last question that I have for you. I
Okay.
try to give the guests the chance to raise an issue they would like to rant about. It could be anything that you feel like is very important at the current day, and it could be something that is emotionally, personally very important for you. I call this section Red Ribbon Rant. In the past, we have talked about HIV funding issues. We talked about
Mhm.
disclosure issues. It could be dating with HIV. It could be doing activism in a growingly more conservative country where they announced this year the family year and they're trying to get rid of all the queers in the country. Like, you could bring whatever you want. Is there anything that comes up to your mind that you would like to rant about? Something to gossip about?
I, I mean, talking in the Turkish context, like as I have said, there's a huge population of refugees and migrants, and they are not able to access the treatment. And I am one of them. I'm not also able to access the treatment in Turkey, and I am privileged because I have friends, I have social capitals all over the world where I can get my medication from them. Like my friends in Sweden and Australia, in Ireland, they are sending their medication to me. That's how I am surviving. There's so many people, right? And we're trying to do something better in like a broader change, like a political change or
Yeah,
legislative change. But at the same time, I believe we need more solidarity. We need more transnational solidarity,
yeah,
especially in these
absolutely.
terms, to support queer and refugees in Turkey. Because in the huge conferences, whenever we go, I've never seen that we are talking about the specific countries like Turkey, Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan, as I'm from, or this like
Central
the
Asia.
Central Asian countries. There's no any speech or presentation that are talking about that, and it's concerning. In order to support the people living with HIV, it doesn't matter where we live, because I believe HIV is something that bonding people, connecting people. It's like you never know, but if you're living with HIV, then you're connected in somehow. And I believe you have some story about that. I would like to hear if you want to
Which
share.
one? I
I
have
don't know.
too many stories. Which one?
It was the medical explanation you were telling. I don't know. I was like, oh, it sounds nice, but I don't know what you're saying.
Hangisi abla ya?
Ay böyle bir aynı virüsü paylaşabilme ihtimali üzerinden söylediğim bir şey vardı.
I said a lot of
Bir
things about
de,
HIV.
DNA'ya karışması ve bir şey.
Now I know what you mean. I know what you mean. So, sometimes in newspaper, oh, I had to take a deep breath. In newspapers and whatever, we hear HIV cure research developments and things like that. And every now and then there's like a confusion happening, especially in Turkey. And I was writing, I think, something for OurCARE, which is like a queer magazine and NGO we have in Turkey, one of the oldest, if not the oldest, queer entity in the country, probably. And I think I mentioned this in one of the pieces that I wrote for them in Turkish. I think I was saying something along the lines, yes, we need to absolutely increase health literacy among people living with HIV for us to be able to understand these studies. And every time we see a news that is done by a journalist that never worked on HIV or sexual health, we shouldn't have to just take what they say, because most often they don't understand and they translate things or they break down things and explain things in a wrong way. But somewhere in the paper, I was saying that, yes, we need to cure HIV. We need to make sure there's a cure in the next couple of decades, if not earlier, so this epidemic finally finishes. But then I said, I am not sure if there was a cure tomorrow. I am not sure if I would get it, because getting diagnosed with HIV has changed my life so much. It literally helped me discover who I am, and I am the person that I am today thanks to HIV. And also, scientifically, biologically speaking, HIV is such a tricky virus that it literally cuts pieces of its RNA, DNA, and inserts it in your genetic data. So it is literally part of my body now. It is part of my DNA, it's part of my cells. If I keep focusing on getting rid of it, doesn't it mean I'm in a way fighting my body because this virus is so bad, I need to get rid of it? So that's what I was trying to say in that piece, I think. Yes, cure is important. Yes, we should get there, but I can get there without trying to fight my body. I
Yeah,
don't want to fight my body because I spent way too many years hating myself and my body growing up in a homophobic country and community, and I had enough of it. And as you said, HIV has connected me with global queer communities and HIV communities and helped me become who I am today. And without HIV, I don't know who I would be. So I'm not sorry to be living with HIV.
me too. Even though I'm like living in this hard condition, like not able to access medication and all the mobility related issue that I'm having in my life, even in that condition, that's the same way you were thinking. I love it.
In a way, it feels like I would need to say goodbye to a certain
I
part
don't
of
want to.
myself and my identity. I don't know. Anything else you want to say to wrap up?
No, I think we have been saying wrap up since 15 minutes, but still we're talking.
Then you brought huge issues. What am I supposed to do? Anyways, then I am wrapping
There's a
up.
lot of issues. I'm sorry. I'm living in Turkey.
As some of the listeners may know, the next AIDS conference organized by International AIDS Society is going to be in Rio. The last one, we were together in Munich. We can have another episode talking about that. But what I wanted to say now was we will again be producing videos in Turkish on Pozitif Solidarity, Pozitif Dayanışma for Turkish speakers on Instagram and other social platforms. If you want to see what is happening at the AIDS conference in Rio and listen to content in Turkish, you can do so from Pozitif Solidarity, Pozitif Dayanışma social media accounts. Thank you for listening and thank you for being here. I love you and I appreciate you so
For
much.
having me. Thank you. Bye.